Cyborg just wants to take it to the ground, she would smash them. I don't think it's at all a good idea to give Holly Holm that kind of a fight. What is next for Robbie Lawler? You know what? I think we need to consider something. We talked a little bit about this. I wonder if I can't remember. I'm losing track on whether it was this podcast or the Monday Morning Analyst, but I think it was this one where we discussed, after that fight, which was what, January of 2016. Those guys didn't appear to be ever the same. Certainly Condit wasn't. Condit was never the same, right? He just got crushed. And then we saw what happened to Robbie Lawler in the Tyron Woodley fight. Didn't look like himself at all. And you want to say, well, how much of that's Tyron Woodley? Probably some. Tyron Woodley had a great combo and it worked and they prepped. And obviously we know he hits hard and he, I thought, made a strong account of himself in the Wonder Boy fight. Whether you thought he won it or lost it, he certainly didn't look bad, right? I still think there's an open question of what happened to those two. I mean, Teddy Atlas is sort of famous for saying, it doesn't matter what happens in any fight. Fighters always leave a piece of themselves in the ring, or in this case, the cage, afterwards. And I think that's true. The question is, how true? I think the idea that Robbie Lawler is just going to bounce back to the guy he was entering the Rory McDonald fight, I mean, I can't rule that out, but I really wonder if that fight was a bit of a turning point for those guys. I'm not saying they can't win at an elite level again, but I think the damage they suffered in that one will be not merely lasting, but impossible to avoid or notice for the rest of their career. You just don't see wars like that. And there's a reason why you don't want to be in wars like that, because it can do that to you. Both of those guys not only lost after that fight, but looked bad. Now, Lawler's taken more time off, but Condit took a lot of time off too, So I don't know. Who would I like to see him against? I mean, it's the same question we had with Nick Diaz. Shit. What fight with Robbie Lawler would suck at the top level? People like Lorenz Larkin? Yeah, sure. Nick Diaz fight? Sign me up. Another Carlos Condit fight? Who wouldn't want to see it, right? Don Cerrone? Sure. I mean, these are easy calls. Any one of those would be tremendous if what we think we know about Robbie Lawler is true. But I guess what I'm wondering is, at least expressing some measure of skepticism, is, do I really think he came out of that unscathed? Maybe. Can't rule it out, but I would have some concerns if I were you. I just don't see how you can walk out of that and be like, I feel like I did 2 years ago. I don't know about that. Khabib Nurmagomedov, Ben Askren, or Demian Maia. Those three fighters being universally recognized as the best grapplers in MMA, in your opinion. Who is the best one? And if weight wasn't an issue, who do you think will win if they fought each other out in an MMA fight? You need to put Jacare in that conversation too. But probably for my money, at least of the three you listed, Nurmagomedov, Askren, and Maia, I'm going to pick Maia. And the reason why is because I think he can work better from top and bottom. I think he's a much more significant submission threat. And he's a much more significant threat in part because he puts himself in better situations. He's better at causing sweeps. He's better at working to the back. Like, his game is so simple, but it's like Italian cooking. If you know anything about Italian cooking, they don't have a ton of ingredients, but what they have is the best ingredients. Like, if they use tomatoes, they don't just have donk tomatoes you go buy at your local Piggly Wiggly. Like, they get really, really nice, like the super delicious tomatoes, and they cook it in the most precise ways. Like, if you're not going to have a lot of ingredients when you cook, you have to make sure you are applying the technique perfectly. And that's sort of what his approach to the game is. Now, he has a wide repertoire, of course. I just mean his game is go in there and take you down. If I can't take you down, I will sweep you down, right? And I'm going to go for the back. I'm going to go for the back because this is such a dominant position. I've got such an advantage. Even if our jiu-jitsu is equal and I started on your back, I have such an advantage here. But the jiu-jitsu is not equal. There's a massive gap between him and, frankly, everybody else in that division. Maybe not Jacare if you went back up to middleweight, but you get the idea. Just about everybody else, there'd be a significant gap in skill. And so why not just go there? Why waste time? Why waste time at all? It's such a um, unique and interesting approach, but it can only be pulled off by somebody who has the ability and wherewithal to make that kind of thing happen. Hang on, I gotta adjust my microphone. So for me, I'm going to go ham. But Habib and Askren to me are very, very similar. Very similar. Both have a huge range of takedowns. They have unique setups for those takedowns. They like to ride on top. They prefer ground and pound, and they prefer just riding and wearing and pulling into you. Like there's just a comfort zone in that. I think Habib's probably got a little bit more lethal um, ground and pound. I think Ben has slightly more unique entries into the takedowns. They're not identical, of course. But and Habib, of course, submitted in his last one, Michael Johnson. So maybe he's a bit more of a submission threat as well. But I guess we'll have to see that play out over the course of other fighters. To me, like Tony Ferguson's a bigger submission threat than Habib, right? Um, but what makes Habib distinct, and I've talked about this before, is it's one thing to say, "Oh, I'm going to shoot in on a double. I'm going to reach my hands out, and you're going to pull my hands off of your legs. You're going to rip it up. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to let you do that. I'm going to let you do it at least on one side. So that way I can go knee tap and get you over that way. George St. Pierre did that to Thiago Alves at UFC 100 a couple of times, running him in a circle and then knee tap off a double. Thiago pulled the underhook up. George let him and went over. That's one thing. That's called chain wrestling. But Habib is very different. Habib will go for a double. You'll pull up on an underhook, and then he'll switch to a Harai Goshi. I don't know. That, in other words, we're not talking about a congruent family of takedowns. We're talking two different universes: leg and hip attacks versus trips and throws, and he can do it on a dime. I'm sorry, there is nobody else in MMA who can do that. Nobody, at least not with the same skill level that he can do it. He can do it so quickly. Guys, they you see this look of terror on them because they're getting attacked in ways they've literally never felt from a sparring partner. Oh, if I can't get the double, I'll switch to the single. If I can't get the single, I'll go for the high crouch. If I can't get the high crouch, maybe I'll go for double underhooks and trips. We're talking about a relatively congruent family of takedowns. That is not what he does. He can switch between wildly diverse takedowns on a dime. That, to me, is insane. Miles Jury update. Do you have any updates on when Miles Jury will fight again? Yes, I've heard a lot about this, actually. Have you talked to him? No, not yet. Well, he is hard to get a hold of. But I am hearing April. I'm hearing April. Against an opponent who I think you guys will like very much if it winds up happening. So, RDA at welterweight. Colby Covington has called out RDA for a welterweight fight. Do you think this is a good first fight for RDA at welterweight? How do you see this fight going? Man, that's a tough fight for him. And if you do not think this is a good first fight, who do you think you'd like to see him matched against? Colby Covington's a tough one, and I think Colby Covington likes it because Dos Anjos has good takedowns. He has good wrestling. I don't think anyone can say he has bad wrestling. But Covington is a limited fighter. He's not as well rounded, let's say, as Dos Anjos, but he's a big welterweight who's got excellent takedowns, really strong top control. Great transitions, can work off the back, good submissions, good ground and pound, good recovery, good scrambling. It would just be a really tough fight for him. It'd be a really tough fight for him. This is why it's like there needs to be like a 165 division or a 163 or whatever the case, because Dos Anjos cuts way too much weight to get to 155, but 170, man. I mean, 170, he's fighting guys that are... John Fitch came in studio. John Fitch is huge. Huge. Actually came in studio with Ben Askren. He was notably bigger than Ben. You know, Ben to me looks like a more natural welterweight. And I'm not saying that Ben's not strong or stronger than John. I don't know how they match up physically, but I was shocked at how big John Fitch was. He's a large, large person. Dos Anjos having to go up against guys like that, I don't know, man. That seems like an awfully tall order. And when they're like really good at one thing that he's like good at but not amazing at. Is Holly's manager a donk? I don't think so, but... Hi, Luke. I was reading an interview with Holly's manager, Lenny... I think it's Frezquez. Uh, whatever. And he said the only fight Holly will take next is a title shot at bantamweight or featherweight. What are your opinions on this guy? Is he a good manager or a donk? He must not see that Holly is not Nick Diaz. Let me pull up the quotes then. The quotes then.